My life with Alex had been, in most ways, a dream. We'd built a cozy home, shared laughter, and supported each other through thick and thin. The one persistent shadow, however, was his sister, Clara. From the moment I entered Alex's life, Clara seemed determined to make my existence difficult. It wasn't overt hostility, not always, but a constant undercurrent of negativity, a subtle undermining of my place in their family. Looking back, I can see the seeds of it were sown early. Alex had briefly dated Clara's close friend during his late teens. It was a youthful romance, nothing serious, but Clara, even then, had strong opinions on who her brother should be with. When Alex and I started dating years later, her disapproval was palpable. It wasn't that she voiced outright objections. Instead, there were the not-so-subtle comments about his exes, always spoken within my earshot, highlighting their achievements, their supposed compatibility with Alex. "Oh, Melanie's business is thriving," she'd say, or, "Remember Sarah's trip to Europe, Alex? You always wanted to go there." At first, Alex would gently but firmly tell her to stop. "Clara, it's in the past," he'd say, his voice patient but firm. "Can we please just enjoy dinner?" But Clara rarely backed down. She'd scoff, roll her eyes, and sometimes even accuse me of being jealous. "It's just conversation," she'd retort, her tone laced with disdain. "You're just insecure." These moments chipped away at my confidence. Was I being overly sensitive? Was I reading too much into her words? But Alex always reassured me. He saw through Clara's facade. He knew her comments were deliberate, intended to unsettle me. The situation escalated when Alex and I decided to move in together. Clara's reaction was dramatic, to say the least. She cornered Alex, listing my supposed flaws, painting a picture of me as someone who would take advantage of him. "You deserve better, Alex," she'd insisted, her voice rising with each word. "I could find someone amazing for you. Someone who's actually right for you." I was hurt, deeply wounded by her words. I had always tried to be kind to Clara, to build a bridge, but it seemed my efforts were in vain. From that point on, a wall started to build between us. Our engagement announcement should have been a joyous occasion. And it was mostly. Our friends and family were thrilled, showering us with love and congratulations. But then there was Clara. She was unusually quiet at first, a strange stillness in her demeanor. Then, abruptly, she stood up and left the celebration without a word. Later that evening, Alex received a tearful, accusatory phone call from her. She sobbed about being the last to know, how, as his sister, she deserved to be the first. It was all about her feelings, her hurt, with little regard for our happiness. Then came the message to me. It was almost threatening, a possessive declaration that she was the most important woman in Alex's life and a warning about how I should treat him. I remember rereading it, a shiver running down my spine. There was an unsettling intensity in her words. I screenshotted the message, not sure what to do with it, but knowing I needed to keep a record. I left her message unread. I simply didn't have the energy to deal with her. The wedding preparations became another battleground. Clara inserted herself into every decision, offering unsolicited opinions, criticizing my choices. My future mother-in-law, bless her heart, noticed Clara's behavior and tried to intervene, as did Alex, but Clara was relentless. The centerpiece debacle was the final straw. I was discussing floral arrangements with Alex's mom when Clara interjected, her voice dripping with disdain. "Those flowers are hideous," she declared. "So tacky. Honestly, Alara, your taste is questionable at best." No wonder Alex could have done so much better. Something inside me snapped. Years of biting my tongue, of trying to keep the peace, boiled over. "That's enough, Clara," I exclaimed, my voice shaking with anger. "I can't take your constant negativity anymore. You're not invited to the wedding." The room went silent. Clara's face contorted in disbelief, as if I'd slapped her. Even Alex's mom looked surprised, though I could see a flicker of understanding in her eyes. Clara, of course, ran to Alex, painting herself as the victim, demanding he control my behavior. But Alex stood firm. He supported my decision, telling Clara that her presence at our wedding was contingent on her offering a genuine apology. Eventually, a grudging apology arrived via text. I saw it, but I didn't respond. The wedding was looming, and I was emotionally drained. I just wanted to move forward. And the wedding, it was beautiful despite the drama. Our friends and family came together, celebrating our love. But Clara's presence was a dark cloud. She arrived in a floor-length black gown and a veil, looking like she was attending a funeral. It was a blatant attempt to disrupt the joy of the day. She made sure to circulate, whispering her grievances to anyone who would listen, casting herself as the wrong sister, the one losing her brother. Alex confronted her about her inappropriate attire and behavior, but she played the victim, accusing me of being controlling. Eventually, my in-laws, mortified by her actions, asked her to leave. The relief I felt when she was gone was immense. But the whole ordeal left a bitter taste. From that day on, I kept Clara at arm's length. When our son Noah was born, I was adamant that Clara wouldn't be allowed near him. My in-laws understood. They had witnessed her behavior firsthand and supported my decision. Clara had suffered a miscarriage a couple of years prior, a tragedy that had deeply affected her. Alex and I, despite everything, felt compassion for her. In the wake of her loss, we softened a bit, allowing her into our lives, letting her bond with Noah. And for a while, it seemed like things had changed. Clara was wonderful with Noah, doting on him, playing with him. It was shocking, honestly, but slowly, the old patterns resurfaced. The constant complaining, the victimhood, the refusal to take responsibility for her own actions. It was exhausting. Then came her wedding. We were surprised when we weren't invited. When Alex questioned her, Clara's reasoning was astounding. She claimed I would cause a scene, that I couldn't be trusted not to wear black in an act of revenge. The sheer audacity of it. Alex was furious. He and his parents decided to boycott the wedding. Clara, predictably, turned on me, blaming me for ruining everything. Her husband, Liam, actually defended us, telling her she was the architect of her own misfortune. Eventually, another apology came, this one laced with desperation as her parents were no longer paying for her wedding. I was weary, but I wanted to move on, so I forgave her. Her wedding to Liam went off without a hitch. We attended, smiled, and tried to be supportive. But the peace was short-lived. Just a few months later, Clara was at our doorstep, a whirlwind of tears and complaints about her failing marriage. Alex and I took her in, offering a temporary refuge. She spent hours each day venting about Liam, painting him as the sole cause of their problems. When I tried to offer a different perspective, a gentler approach, she'd shut me down. "You don't understand," she'd say, her voice thick with self-pity. "Liam is impossible." She also developed an unhealthy fascination with our lives, probing into our routines, fixating on the smallest details. For example, I often go to the gym before work. On days when I'm running late, I pack my work clothes so I can shower and change at the gym. Clara latched onto this, peppering me with questions about my gym habits, my showering routine, my need to change clothes. It was odd. I brushed it off, attributing it to her general unhappiness. Then came the lunch where my mother-in-law was telling us about a friend who was divorcing her adulterous husband and taking half his assets. Clara interrupted, her eyes gleaming with a strange intensity. "Alex," she asked, ignoring my presence entirely, "did you and Alara sign a prenuptial agreement?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. Alex and I exchanged stunned glances. We hadn't felt the need for a prenup. We both earned well, and our marriage was built on trust. Alex told her as much, his voice calm but firm. Clara snorted. "You never know," she said, her gaze shifting to me. "People change. And there are so many temptations out there." Her words were like a slap in the face. I felt my cheeks flush with anger. "What exactly are you implying, Clara?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. That's when she launched into her accusations, twisting my gym routine into evidence of infidelity. She even had the gall to question Noah's paternity, suggesting he didn't look enough like Alex. I had never seen Alex so angry. His face turned crimson, his eyes blazing. He unleashed a torrent of words, telling Clara she was unfit to be a mother, that her own child would be better off without her. It was brutal, but in that moment, I couldn't fault him. She had crossed a line. Clara dissolved into tears, seeking comfort from Liam, but he remained silent. Alex stormed off, leaving Clara to her self-inflicted misery. I tried to soothe Alex, while his mom attempted to calm him down. In the aftermath of that confrontation, we made a decision. We couldn't subject ourselves to Clara's toxicity anymore. We cut off contact, hoping it would force her to confront her own issues. A year passed, a year of peace. Then the unexpected joy. I was pregnant again. Alex and I were overjoyed. We decided to share the news at Alex's birthday party, wanting to celebrate both milestones with our loved ones. When we arrived at his parents' house, there was Clara. She rushed to Alex, hugging him tightly, gushing about how much she'd missed him, how sorry she was for her past behavior. Then she turned to me, offering a hesitant apology. She even claimed to be in therapy, working on her issues. I was wary, but I wanted to believe in change. Alex's parents, ever vigilant, assured us that if we felt uncomfortable, they would ask Clara to leave. Alex, ever the peacemaker, wanted to avoid a scene, so we decided to let it go. And for a while it was pleasant. Clara was laughing, socializing, seemingly genuinely happy for us. Maybe, just maybe, she had turned a corner. When Alex made his birthday toast, his words were so full of love and appreciation for me, I felt myself blushing like a schoolgirl. In that moment, surrounded by love and happiness, Clara's past behavior seemed distant, almost unreal. Then came our announcement. "We have some news," Alex said, his eyes sparkling. "Alara and I are expecting." The room erupted in cheers and applause. My mom rushed to hug me, tears streaming down her face. Alex's dad clapped Alex on the back, his own eyes misty. Everyone was excited, asking about baby names, due dates. Everyone, that is, except Clara. Her face fell. Her mood shifted. She turned away, a dark cloud settling over her. I tried to ignore my unease, attributing it to her processing the news. But a knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. Later, I got up to help my in-laws with the food, but my dad and Alex insisted I stay seated. "You shouldn't be on your feet," my dad said, his voice firm. "Let us handle it." Then Clara approached, a bright smile plastered on her face. "I wanted to be the one to serve you," she said, her voice overly sweet. "To make up for everything." She handed me a plate, heaping with food. "Enjoy," she said, her eyes fixed on mine. I took the plate, my instincts screaming at me. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. As I was about to take a bite, I saw it: shrimp. I am deathly allergic to shrimp. Clara knew this. She had to know. Disappointment washed over me, followed by a wave of fear. This wasn't an apology. It was something far more sinister. I shook my head, placing the plate down. I decided to get my own food. Liam approached me then, congratulating me on the pregnancy. We chatted for a moment, and he noticed I wasn't eating. I mentioned Clara's thoughtful gesture and my shrimp allergy. Liam, ever the peacemaker, offered to take the plate. "I love shrimp," he said with a smile. "I'll happily take it off your hands, and you can get something else." I hesitated for a moment, then agreed. I should have thrown the plate away. I should have listened to my gut. 5 minutes later, chaos erupted. Liam started coughing, gagging, his face turning red. He stumbled away from the table, clutching his throat. Alex and Clara rushed to his side. Liam pointed to the plate, his eyes wide with terror. The realization hit us like a physical blow. Liam had been poisoned. He collapsed, unconscious, and panic seized the gathering. Someone called for an ambulance, and we waited, hearts pounding, as Liam fought for his life. Clara, throughout it all, was hysterical, sobbing uncontrollably. But her eyes, they kept flicking to me, a strange, accusatory glint in them. At the hospital, we learned the horrifying truth. Liam had indeed been poisoned. And the plate, it was traced back to me. Clara had given it to me. The implications were staggering. My unborn child, my own life, had been in danger. The police were called. An investigation began. My in-laws, reeling from the shock, stayed with us, afraid to be alone. The happy celebration had turned into a nightmare. The weight of it all was crushing. The fear, the what-ifs, the betrayal. It was almost too much to bear. And the thought of Clara's intentions, it made my blood run cold. I knew, with a chilling certainty, that I could never be around her again. Not my children, not myself. I felt sick with guilt for giving Liam the plate. I should have thrown it away. Why didn't I just throw it away? The guilt gnawed at me. I haven't been able to sleep since. Every time I close my eyes, I see Liam's face, contorted in agony. Alex has been incredibly supportive, holding me, reassuring me, but he doesn't know the full extent of my fears. He doesn't know what his sister tried to do. I know I need to tell him. I need to tell my in-laws everything. The truth has to come out. And I pray that the security cameras captured what happened. I pray they can confirm that Clara gave me that plate. The hours that followed Liam's collapse were a blur of chaos and fear. The paramedics arrived, their faces grim as they worked to stabilize him. The wail of the siren faded into the distance as the ambulance sped away, carrying Liam and his fragile life with it. We were left behind, a cluster of shocked and terrified individuals, grappling with the enormity of what had just occurred. Alex held me tightly, his own body trembling slightly. His eyes, usually so warm and full of life, were now clouded with confusion and a flicker of something darker, a raw, wounded anger. His parents, normally pillars of strength, seemed aged and fragile, their faces etched with worry. My own parents, their faces pale and drawn, hovered nearby, their protective instincts kicking into overdrive. Clara, for her part, continued her dramatic display of grief, sobbing and wailing, her performance almost too theatrical to be believed. Yet, beneath the surface of her tears, I detected a strange undercurrent, a flicker of something calculating in her eyes whenever they darted towards me. It was a chilling realization that, even in this moment of crisis, her thoughts were still consumed by whatever twisted agenda she harbored against me. The police arrived, their presence adding another layer of grim reality to the situation. They cordoned off the area where Liam had collapsed, their voices sharp and professional as they began their investigation. They questioned each of us, their eyes scrutinizing our faces, searching for any hint of deception. When it was my turn, I recounted the events as calmly and clearly as I could, my voice shaking slightly as I described Clara's seemingly kind gesture, the plate of food, my discovery of the shrimp, and Liam's subsequent reaction. I carefully avoided expressing my suspicions about Clara's intentions, sticking to the bare facts. But I could see the officer's interest piqued when I mentioned my allergy and Clara's awareness of it. The hours ticked by with agonizing slowness. We waited at the hospital, huddled together in the sterile waiting room, the silence punctuated only by the occasional muffled sob from Clara and the hushed whispers of the medical staff. Each minute felt like an eternity, stretching out into an endless cycle of anxiety and dread. Finally, a doctor emerged, his face grave. Liam was stable, he informed us, but the next 24 hours would be critical. The poison, whatever it was, had caused significant damage, and his body was fighting a desperate battle. The news hit us like a physical blow. A collective gasp filled the room, and Clara's wails intensified. Alex squeezed my hand, his grip tight, his knuckles white. I leaned against him, seeking solace in his presence, but the fear for Liam and the gnawing unease about Clara remained a heavy weight in my chest. As the night wore on, sleep became an impossible luxury. We remained at the hospital, a vigil of worry and fear. My in-laws, exhausted and emotionally drained, eventually went home to rest, but Alex and I stayed, clinging to each other, our eyes fixed on the door, praying for a miracle. The police continued their investigation, their presence a constant reminder of the gravity of the situation. They took the remaining food from the party for analysis, their expressions grim as they bagged and tagged each item. They also requested to review the security camera footage from my in-laws' house, hoping to piece together the events leading up to Liam's poisoning. The thought of the cameras filled me with a flicker of hope. If they captured Clara handing me the plate, it would be undeniable proof. It would exonerate me from any suspicion and reveal the truth of Clara's actions. But a part of me dreaded seeing the footage. What if it showed something even more sinister than I imagined? What if it confirmed my darkest fears about Clara's intentions? The next day dawned, casting a pale, weak light through the hospital windows. We were still waiting, our nerves frayed, our hope dwindling with each passing hour. The tension in the waiting room was palpable, thick with unspoken accusations and simmering anger. Finally, Alex and I decided we couldn't bear the uncertainty any longer. We needed to know the truth. We drove to his parents' house, the silence in the car heavy and oppressive. His parents greeted us with weary smiles, their faces etched with worry. They offered us tea, but neither of us could swallow more than a few sips. The weight of the situation had stolen our appetites. "The police have already been here," his father said, his voice hoarse. "They've taken the footage. We're all just waiting to hear back." The waiting was excruciating. Every creak of the house, every ring of the phone, sent a jolt of anxiety through me. I paced restlessly, unable to sit still, my mind racing with a million possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. Finally, Alex's phone rang. He answered, his voice tight, his eyes fixed on mine. He listened intently, his expression shifting from apprehension to shock, then to a white-hot fury that I had never seen before. "It's true," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "The cameras, they show everything." My heart pounded in my chest. I braced myself for the worst. "Clara," Alex continued, his voice trembling with rage, "she deliberately gave you that plate. She knew about your allergy." The room seemed to tilt. The air grew thick and heavy, pressing down on me, stealing my breath. The confirmation of my suspicions was both a relief and a horrifying revelation. Clara, my husband's sister, had tried to poison me. The implications of that act were staggering. The betrayal, the malice, the sheer depravity of it, it was almost incomprehensible. And the fact that Liam had become an innocent victim in her twisted scheme only deepened the horror. Alex's parents were equally devastated. Their faces crumpled with grief and disbelief as they grappled with the reality of their daughter's actions. The foundation of their family, already shaken by Clara's past behavior, had been shattered beyond repair. We sat in stunned silence for a long time, the weight of the truth pressing down on us. Finally, Alex spoke, his voice filled with a grim determination. "We have to tell the police everything," he said. "They need to know the full extent of what Clara has done." His parents nodded in agreement, their faces resolute. There was no room for hesitation, no space for doubt. Justice had to be served. We spent the next few hours at the police station, giving our statements, recounting the years of Clara's manipulative behavior, her attempts to sabotage my relationship with Alex, and the events leading up to the poisoning. The officers listened intently, their expressions growing increasingly serious as they pieced together the puzzle of Clara's actions. The evidence was damning. The security footage, combined with our testimonies and the analysis of the food, painted a clear picture of Clara's guilt. The police informed us that they would be taking immediate action. As we left the station, the weight of the day began to settle upon us. We were exhausted, emotionally and physically drained, but there was also a sense of grim relief. The truth was out. Clara's actions were exposed. And now, the wheels of justice would begin to turn. We returned to the hospital, our faces grim, our hearts heavy. Liam was still in critical condition, his fate hanging in the balance. The waiting continued, but now, there was a different undercurrent to the tension, a sense of anticipation, of impending confrontation. Clara was there, of course, her performance of grief continuing unabated. But now, her sobs seemed hollow, her tears insincere. I watched her with a mixture of revulsion and pity. How could someone I had once tried to befriend have descended to such depths of malice? The police arrived, their presence drawing attention from everyone in the waiting room. They approached Clara, their voices firm but calm. They informed her that she was under arrest. The transformation was instantaneous. The tears dried up, the wails ceased, and the mask of grief slipped away, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. She lashed out, her words venomous, her accusations flying in every direction. She blamed me, she blamed Alex, she blamed her parents, anyone but herself. But it was all in vain. The police were unmoved. They read her rights, and she was led away in handcuffs, her protests echoing through the waiting room. The silence that followed her departure was profound. A collective sigh seemed to ripple through the room, a release of the tension that had gripped us for so long. But there was no joy, no sense of victory. Only a deep sadness and a lingering unease. Liam's condition remained precarious. We continued our vigil, clinging to hope, praying for his recovery. The days that followed were a blur of hospital visits, police interviews, and the slow, agonizing process of coming to terms with the enormity of what had happened. Alex and I leaned on each other, our bond strengthened by the shared trauma. His parents, though heartbroken by their daughter's actions, offered unwavering support. My own parents remained a constant source of comfort and strength, their love and protectiveness a lifeline in the storm. Slowly, gradually, Liam began to show signs of improvement. His body, weakened but resilient, fought back against the poison. The doctors remained cautious, but there was a glimmer of hope where before there had been only despair. As Liam's condition stabilized, the focus shifted to Clara. The legal process began, a slow and methodical march towards justice. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and the consequences of her actions were severe. The thought of Clara facing the consequences of her actions brought me no satisfaction, only a profound sense of sadness. Her life, once filled with promise, had been shattered by her own choices. In the midst of the turmoil, Alex and I found solace in each other and in the growing life within me. The anticipation of our child's arrival became a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, life and love endure. The weeks turned into months. Liam slowly but surely recovered, his strength returning day by day. The physical scars would fade, but the emotional wounds would likely linger. Clara's legal proceedings moved forward. The trial was a grueling ordeal, a painful recounting of the events that had led to Liam's poisoning. The courtroom was filled with tension, the air thick with emotion. I testified, my voice trembling slightly as I recounted Clara's years of manipulative behavior and the events of the birthday party. It was a harrowing experience, but I knew I had to speak the truth for Liam's sake, for my own, and for the sake of justice. The jury deliberated for what felt like an eternity. Finally, the verdict came, guilty. Clara was convicted of multiple charges, including attempted aggravated assault and poisoning. The sentence was severe, reflecting the gravity of her crimes. The news of the verdict brought a sense of closure, but it was a bittersweet victory. Justice had been served, but the scars of Clara's actions would remain. In the aftermath of the trial, Liam made a decision. He filed for divorce from Clara. The betrayal had shattered their marriage beyond repair. It was a painful ending, but perhaps a necessary one. Alex and I continued to rebuild our lives, piece by piece. The trauma of the experience had left its mark, but it had also strengthened our bond. We learned to cherish each other more deeply, to appreciate the fragility of life and the importance of love and forgiveness. As my pregnancy progressed, the anticipation of our child's arrival grew. It was a time of healing and hope, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, life finds a way to bloom. Our son, Noah, remained blissfully unaware of the turmoil that had surrounded us. We decided to keep the truth from him for now, wanting to protect his innocence. But we knew that someday we would have to tell him, to explain the complexities of family and the capacity for both love and cruelty. The day our daughter was born was the happiest day of our lives. The moment I held her in my arms, all the pain and fear seemed to melt away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of love and gratitude. We named her Lily, a name that symbolized hope and new beginnings. Her presence filled our home with joy, her laughter a melody that soothed our wounded souls. Our families rallied around us, their love and support unwavering. My parents and in-laws showered Lily with affection, their joy at her arrival a balm to their own pain. Even Liam, in his own way, became a part of our healing process. He remained a close friend, his presence a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. As the years passed, the shadows of the past began to fade. The memories of Clara's betrayal remained, but they no longer defined us. We had learned to live with the scars, to allow them to shape us without consuming us. Alex and I built a life filled with love, laughter, and the joy of raising our children. Noah blossomed into a kind and caring big brother, his love for Lily a testament to the enduring power of family. We never forgot the lessons we learned during that dark time. We cherished each moment, we forgave deeply, and we held on to hope even in the face of adversity. And in the end, love triumphed over hate, and life blossomed from the ashes of betrayal.